Hello and a warm welcome to yet another episode on the Mission Shunya podcast. Hope you are well wherever you are. Stay safe, take the COVID vaccine if it's available nearby, and stay protected. First, a big thanks for all your feedback, guest recommendation, and ratings and reviews across the platforms. If you haven't done that yet, the simplest way to do it is on Apple Podcast or an email to missionshunya@gmail.com. Your feedback definitely helps me structure the podcast and the Mission Shunya platform from time to time. There are multiple topics that I get to choose from when I look at stories from the global decarbonization and the aspects of sustainability. From time to time, I look at weaving in a story featuring an individual who has gone outside the comfort zones to have a positive impact in the space. Today's guest is one such person from Bengaluru in India. A quick note, the guest and I are from the same city, so we end up referencing the local authorities in our conversation. But the topic and the story is suited for anyone who's passionate about sustainable living. With that brief note, who is our guest and what is he passionate about?
Hi, I am Ganesh Shanbhag. I'm basically from Hubballi in North Karnataka, now married and settled in Bengaluru. I work as a software engineer in Dialpad, India. And apart from that, I work on a lot of sustainability projects as my passion.
So Ganesh, can you give us a brief background? So from what I know is like you're a techie, but what got you interested in sustainability? So when did this all begin and how did you get started with designing solutions that are totally offbeat to what you really work on? As a techie, you work on computers, but how did you get started and how were you motivated to do something in rainwater harvesting?
Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting story. So yes, as you rightly said, I work as a software engineer. To be precise, I am a full stack developer. So what got me into this is the crisis what Bengaluru was seeing. So the area where I live, it's called Singasandra. It's in the south of Bangalore, and it's very close by to one of the biggest lakes of Bangalore, which is Begur Lake. So what happened was somewhere around 2018, the Begur Lake was drained out completely in the name of restoration.
Okay.
And even till date, it is the same. It is not yet completely done. Right? So this is one of the biggest lakes in Bangalore, and it has history of like say more than 1,000 years, because the name Bangalore, right, Bengaluru or Bendakaluru, originated from the inscription which was found in this lake, which is called Bengaluru inscription. Right?
Nice.
So it's such a historical lake, and all of a sudden you just remove that lake for restoration. That causes a lot of disturbance in the ecosystem around. When I say ecosystem, a lot of groundwater level and a lot of borewells around are completely dependent on this particular lake. So just as in the lake was drained out, all the borewells in the near vicinity, they just dried up. You may not believe me, in a week span, we lost 5 borewells, which were around 600 to 800 feet in depth.
Wow.
When I say these 5 borewells, these are confined within my apartment, which is Metropolis Gurukrapa in Singapore. So it was the same story with all about neighboring apartments as well. So as usual, whenever there is such kind of a water problem, Bengalurians typically turn to what is known as tankers, and tanker itself is a very big mafia in Bangalore.
Yes.
Right? Whenever you have water problem, they charge a lot of premium for this particular thing. Right?
Yes.
When I came to know the source of water, right, they were actually fetching the water from across the border, like from the Tamil Nadu side into the Karnataka side, right? So it because of our water problem, we are causing a lot of other issues. Like we are commuting for about 30 kilometers in the water tankers and all these kind of stuff. So what is the solution for this? The solution is like when we started thinking about the solution, we realized that Bengaluru has about 1300 plus of rainfall every year. But what are we doing with this rainfall? We are just letting it out in drains, gutters, roads, everything else, right? We are not utilizing it properly. So if you notice, right, even if it rains for 15 minutes, the outer ring road near Belanduru will have about 2 feet of water deposited. So that's because every water comes down on the road. So if we judiciously utilize this particular water, right, we can sustain about 80% of our requirements. When we started working on this plan, When I realized that more than 90% of apartments in Bangalore say they have RWH, they have the rainwater harvesting implemented. But when I actually dug deep into this matter, right? So everybody has RWH only on paper. It really doesn't work at all. These are just for the statutory requirements which are needed by the local authorities, nothing more than that. It exists only on paper. That's the sad story of Bangalore. So then this is what motivated me to take up this cause. And then I, along with few other like-minded individuals in our apartment complex, we started working out on the strategy of how to actually implement the proper rainwater harvesting solution. Then we thought of doing a POC. POC was done in the month of January, and by the time it was March, we recovered whatever amount we had put in for the POC. And that's what motivated me to take up this in particular in a large scale. Right? When I say large scale, our apartment has a rooftop of about 25,000 square feet. That's quite large for the rainwater harvesting system. Net, what I'm saying is, what motivated is basically the water crisis in Bangalore. Whenever, like it's said, right, necessity is the mother of all innovations. We had a necessity of water, and rainwater harvesting system, which is efficient and good efficacy, it came out.
That's a wonderful short story of how you got interested to this. So, as a precursor to all the audience who are outside of India, outside of Bangalore, I think what Ganesh referred to here was water tankers, basically trucks with tankers that bring water from outside the Bengaluru city from other states nearby. And also, like what Ganesh mentioned, rainwater harvesting is a mandated as per law, the local law in the Bangalore city, where apartments or residences having more than 40 residences, if I am right, Ganesh?
Yes, if there are more than 40 dwellable units, you need the sewage treatment as well as a proper rainwater harvesting thing.
So, yeah, all this have to be set up in the apartment complexes or the dwelling units, but unfortunately, it is not in place. So, during summer, the crisis actually strikes, and Bengaluru ranks among the top 5 cities. It goes up and down, but in terms of where the water position is during the period, so I think Bengaluru is number 2 after Cape Town in South Africa in terms of shortage of water, drinking water. So this is a big crisis that you kind of found out, and as you said, necessity is the mother of invention. So what is that you built in the proof of concept, like you said, POC? What is it that you put together for the POC?
Right. So there are 2 points which I would like to answer in this particular question. Number one, whenever you just search about rainwater harvesting solution providers in Bangalore, first thing what happens is the residents or the welfare associations take a back seat because of the enormous amount of price they quote for getting these systems implemented.
Okay.
So when building a POC, one thing what we kept in mind was we should keep the cost bare minimal, right? So how to achieve this? Basically, we have to achieve this by directly sourcing the components needed directly from the manufacturers.
Yes.
So what are the necessary components for rainwater harvesting? It's quite simple, right? It's all about filters. Basically, if you take any residential apartment as an example, you need 2 kinds of filters, right? One, when the water is flowing with the help of gravity, and second, when the water is flowing with the help of some external pumping mechanism. So these are the 2 kinds of filters you require. So good thing today is everything is available online, right? And we can directly source them from the manufacturers. That works out very cheap. So in POC, what we did was, like, we did not understand what is the capacity of filters required and all these kind of things. So what we did was we procured some 8 filters directly from the manufacturers and started working on the weekends. When I say we started working on the weekends, it's not about any external contractor or a plumber. It's about the like-minded individuals within the apartment complex. We started working on the weekends just to get this system ready. So probably like we spent around 20,000 rupees for getting the POC done. And 20,000 is not a very big amount when we consider a residential complex, right? It's very small amount. And that 20,000 we were able to recover by saving in the tanker cost within a couple of months.
That's wonderful. So when you say 20,000, it works out to about like $350, close to that, I believe.
Yes.
Now, how did you move on from the POC to the actual solution? So proof of concept worked. So what was the addition into the actual solution that you put, and what is the kind of USP that you have in this system compared to the other ones that are traditionally available?
Right. So conversion of POC to the full scale system was basically about increasing the capacity. I mean, when I say increasing the capacity, it's about increasing the rooftop area which will get treated. And then the second part is about what is the difference when we have a traditional RWH system and this particular system, right? So this is what happened when we converted from POC to the full scale system. So when I talked about it earlier, right? So I mentioned that we have about 25,000 square feet of rooftop and on the residential front, and about 10,000 square feet of rooftop to the adjacent commercial building which is connected to us. So when we did the POC, it hardly covered around 5 to 6,000 square feet of the rooftop, not more than that. So what we did was, in the first phase, we tried to increase the area by about 15,000 square feet. So this particular 15,000 square feet had about 10 plumbing lines which were dropping from the rooftop to the basement. All these things had to be connected together, and the pressure had to be gauged, and sufficient filtering capability was to be added for this particular thing. So the mechanism what I use is, whenever there is a rainfall, we collect the water on the rooftop, and from the gravity it flows down via this plumbing pipes. So when all the water flows down and it is collected at one place and it is filtered. So after filtering, the water is not completely potable. It is about like, it's like straining the tea leaves, right? So it removes all the solid particles which would have accumulated on the rooftop, all these kinds of things, and then it leaves the water into the underground storage area, which is about 2 lakh liters in our apartment. So this underground storage area, it will store the not so potable water, and once we allow it to settle for a while, and then we when pump it to the rooftop or the overhead tanks, we use a 5 HP submersible pump, and on the positive pressure side we use a drip irrigation filter, right?
Okay.
And the drip irrigation filter, which is for a long time used by all our farmers to keep their drips clean. So that particular thing will take out all the fine dust particles, fine sediments, whatever are there in the rainwater, and it makes it potable and sends it to the overhead tank. So once it reaches the overhead tank, so it is allowed for bathing, drinking, washing, pretty much every purpose whatever we have in the apartment. So how it is different from the traditional system? In the traditional system, what people typically concentrate is about recharging the groundwater level first, right?
True.
And then whatever is extra, they will use it. I mean, typically no one does it actually in Bangalore.
Yes.
No one directly consumes the rainwater as potable water. So they typically leave it through the injection wells or the percolation pits or whatever it is. Just mark my words, if you are doing it, well and good, but it's a charity. When I say it's a charity, there is no guarantee that whatever you have left out in the injection wells or the percolation pits comes back to your borewell. It may go to somebody else. Just think about rainwater as one of the purest forms of water. Consume it as and when it falls. Catch it as and when it falls. Only when you have exceeded your storage capacity, then only leave it to the percolation pits. Do the charity only when you have enough.
That's a fair point that you mentioned. As you rightly said, most of the conventional rainwater harvesting is just dig a pit, percolation pit, and let it seep through, and then say like you're recharging the groundwater. So as I understand, so the key difference is that you're again reutilizing the rainwater by pumping it back to the main water supply tanks, and you're using it for other purposes. So that's a good thing. So if I understand, then there is a small percentage that recharges the groundwater and the other one is reused, right?
Yes, so we actually recharge the groundwater level as well.
So this solution, in addition to harvesting the rainwater, also has a component where you treat the sewage water. So what is it that you do with sewage treatment?
Right. So again, sewage treatment also is mandated by BBMP for greater than 40 dwelling units in Bangalore. Right. Even KSPCB and National Green Tribunal, which is NGT, have these laws. But unfortunately, in Bangalore, these are all for statutory purpose. Nobody goes and polices these particular things. right? So that's why more than like 90% of Bangalore have the STPs, but they are not operational, right? So a good operational efficient STP can mitigate the water usage in the apartment by about 50%. When I say 50%, this particular water can be used for gardening, flushing, all the washing the vehicles and washing the basement areas and a lot of other things. It has a very good application in these particular things. And let me give you some stats, right? So we have a 50 KLD system. Again, it is a sequential based reactor system which BBMP used to suggest at that particular point in time. So now they have added few more technologies for this list. So this particular system, 50 KLD system, right? So we use it full capacity. 50,000 liter sewage is treated every day, and it generates about 45 to 46,000 liters of treated water.
That's wonderful.
Out of which around 25 to 30,000, based on what day it is used for flushing. On weekdays, it will be like 25,000. On weekends, it will go up a little bit, like 30 to 32,000. Is used for flushing, and a significant amount is used for the drip irrigation in our gardens. So, and still whatever extra we have, that will go to the percolation pit, and probably like every day about 10,000 liters goes to the percolation pit, and we do the groundwater recharge in this particular way. So we ensure that groundwater recharge happens 365 days a year, not only in the rainy season.
That's wonderful. That's a nice little concept that you have, where it's not just typically harvesting the rainwater, but also treating the sewage water and making it very resourceful. So that's interesting.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the net summary of savings, so how does it typically work? So what is the percentage of drop in the water usage or amount spent to treat water?
Right. So when it comes, let me talk a little bit about rainwater system first. So last year, I flashed out a notice in our apartments group which said, for the first time in 67 days, we are taking water from outside, right?
Wow.
So we were able to drag the apartment just with rainwater for 67 days, which is a huge. I mean, just imagine, right? We have 88 dwellable units, right? About 300 population, and we are able to sustain for everything just with rainwater for over 67 days. And like, even though there was a break in between, typically from the month of March till the month of November in Bangalore, it rains once in a while. And using this water, we will be able to sustain about 5 to 6 months a year. Remaining 5 to 6 months, we actually depend on external source, which is Kaveri.
Fair.
So coming to the sewage stuff, so let me tell you a small story here, right? So as soon as the lockdown one was introduced last year, somewhere in March, everybody started staying at home.
True.
The amount of flush water needed for our apartment actually doubled. We were consuming about 15 to 16,000 liters of flush water every day, and it suddenly doubled to 32 to 35,000 liters.
Wow.
So just imagine if we were dependent on the external sources like tanker, borewell, or Kaveri for this particular need, it would have shot our water bills like crazy. But we had an in-house system which actually generates the water, right? So in that way, we were able to manage this particular requirement just by stepping up the production. So, and also, yeah, I definitely agree with respect to the cost point. The generation of treated water is on the similar cost as getting the water from the outside. The reason being, it consumes whatever technology we have today. It consumes huge amount of power. It consumes huge amount of chemicals, and it also requires an operator. But as the days are progressing, we are having good technologies. To name Eco STP is one, which doesn't require power, which doesn't require chemicals, and which doesn't require even the operator. It purely works on the nature's forces, which is gravity. So as the days progress, right, we will have a lesser operational expense for the sewage treatment plant. So yeah, that's, I mean, about the savings for sewage treatment. Yes, we are not saving any amount of money, but yeah, we are not relying on water from external sources.
Well, that's a wonderful little short summary of things, because I found like three valid cases why this is successful. One, as you said, during the period of lockdown in 2020, where most people were staying indoors, good that you had a separate line for flushing and toilet use where you could actually redirect this water, the treated water, to that. So that's one. And second, obviously, as you said, the cost might be the same, but the sustainability aspect of this is really essential, because getting water tankers from around and then paying a fluctuating price is not really a sustainable solution. So sustainability definitely is a box ticked. And third, finally, as you said, as technology progresses and as more technological solutions come, you will definitely find more better products, better solutions that kind of ensures that you save more as you use. So that's really wonderful. Now, Ganesh, there are two more things that I was very curious about, because I think you also use reverse osmosis based filters. So there is a general perception that reverse osmosis filters kind of are not very efficient. What's your take on that?
Yes. So again because we use something what is advertised to us. We use the reverse osmosis systems what comes in TV as the advertisements. But there are really good systems which are developed by our scientists who are working in Defense Research Development Organization and Baba Atomic Research Centers. They have really good solutions. So what we did was we have utilized the spiral UF membrane, which is equivalent to a typical RO membranes, which is developed by Baba Atomic Research Center. The beauty of this membrane is it doesn't discard anything. But only catch over here is it should have TDS of less than 500. So the mentality of people is they don't actually check the TDS of the raw water. They simply go and invest in the RO systems because they have seen it either on the television or their neighbors would have installed it. And also from the government front, right? Whatever our scientists are doing, it's not getting advertised at all. So that's one aspect. So let me give you one simple example, right? In our apartment, we have 88 flats and everybody uses 15 liters of clean drinking water. If it were a RO system, 15 liter would have discarded about 45 to 50 liters into the drain.
True.
Extrapolating it to the entire apartment, it comes down to around 5,000 liters of fresh water going into drain per day, right?
Here.
So at least a lot of us have retrofitted our existing water purifying systems to work with the bark membranes, and we have been successful in doing this. And also we have a common watering point which we typically is in the basement, which we allow for all our employees or anybody in need to fetch the water from. Even that runs on the bark system. So that is about backwashing, but not about discarding the RO water.
That's again good to know. Good to know that there are solutions that better than RO filters, because as you rightly said, RO filters definitely kind of tend to waste more than twice the amount of water that you typically use in terms of the filtration process. That's good. Ganesh, the other part of the story is that you never stopped at your apartment complex. You went around and you communicated this message to a lot of other people, other societies. So how did you get started and how has it been going so far?
Yeah, so today we live in a place where we have second life, which is social media life. So when we did the POC and the first stage, there were a lot of people in our apartment who shared it on the social media, Twitter, Facebook platforms. And it caught attention of some of the journalists. So they had a good coverage of our apartment in both these daily papers. So as soon as the media coverage came in, I had a huge inflow of different resident welfare associations coming in to understand these systems. And also, some gentlemen nominated us for the National Water Awards, which are given by the Central Groundwater Board. It was nominated by none other than Bengaluru South MP Tejasvi Surya himself.
Nice.
So I had a great meeting with Tejasvi Surya, who gave us all kind of support for this particular award. We were nominated for this particular award. And once the nomination was done, right, so it got attention of Central Water Commission and Ministry of Jal Shakti. They sent in a team of delegates to visit us to prepare a report, which is called ground truthing report. And they have prepared a ground truthing report for this particular thing on all the good sustainable practices which we are using in our apartment. So this particular event, right, actually caught a lot of attention from the general public. I started getting huge amount of mails, calls, and people showing interest to come and have a look, people showing interest to have me visiting their campus. And at a peak, probably like I handled about 10 resident welfare associations per day on the weekend. So that's the amount of interest it generated. And good amount of like about 40 to 50% of them whoever visited us, they actually went on and implemented these systems whatever we have designed. That was the good impact what we had. And also apart from that, I joined into I Live Simply movement, which is a global movement by none other than Sonam Wangchuk. So Sonam Wangchuk's global movement, I am one of the founding members in the Bangalore chapter.
Nice.
And as part of this particular movement, I was able to conduct a lot of workshops for the rainwater harvesting things. And even like I did a lot of Facebook live events. And yeah, based on the needs, I'm even doing it till date. So that's how it went. And probably like I have attended more than 200 apartment complexes till date. And even if like 100 to 120 of them have converted into a good rainwater harvesting system, that's a win for me.
Well, to put numbers and the activities that you've done into perspective, we should kind of tell the audience that it has been a year of pandemic. So the amount of interactions that you've done probably shows that you are really passionate about this and you've taken the courage to kind of do all this amidst all the things that's happening around. So kudos to that. And as you rightly said, social media has a big part to play in this. So it's good to know that the message is reaching a wider audience. Ganesh, on a final note, as part of this, you did mention about your involvement with Sonam Wangchuk and his activities, but there is also other thing that you're really passionate about, like World of Water. So, what exactly do you do with World of Water?
Yes. So, World of Water, to put it in perspective, it's a citizens-led initiative, right? We call it WOW, World of Water. It's a citizen-led collective action forum, and our mentor is Dr. Hariharan, right?
Nice.
So, and it has lot of mentors. One among them is Ushakini Madam, who retired as a director for Doordarshan, and there are a lot of leaders from different walks of life in this particular forum. We have technology providers, we have the ground workers, we have the design providers, we have students, we have a lot of we have different people from different walk of life. So WOW has set up an aggressive mission for year 2021. The mission statement is whatever it is, we have to save 1,000 crore liters of fresh water in Bangalore. So that's the WOW's mission for 2021. So this 1,000 crore liters can come from water reclaiming from the sewage treatment, harvesting water from rainwater, a good amount of aerators which can be installed for the different taps and faucets, and also like it can be about teaching to the children. So we have different action forums, action groups basically. One among them is apartment action group, and other is the school action group. We have also reclaiming action group, and a lot of them. Every individual action group has a chairperson, and it has its own dedicated target. Overall, the target is about 1,000 crore liters of water saving in Bengaluru alone. Why this 1,000 crore liter? Just because if we want to pump 1,000 crore liters from Kaveri Basin to Bengaluru, we need about 36 crore rupee worth of power. And this 100 crore liters is about 4 to 5 days of what Bangalore needs. So that's about it, right? So if we are able to achieve this target in 2021, we would have created the impact. And there are a lot of partners like Bangalore Apartment Forum or the BWSSB, all these bodies who are partnering this initiative, and the groundwork is going on for this. So I request if all the listeners over here, if they are really passionate about saving water, saving fresh water, doing any of these kind of work, please join any of the WOW action forums. You are more than welcome.
That's a nice little gesture because, as you rightly said, water is always treated in silo, but the entire process of getting water from faraway sources, far nearby rivers, then the pipelines, the electricity consumption and treatment. So there is a lot of embedded carbon in the entire transaction as well. So conserving and saving water when you receive them is definitely a value add in the entire process. So that's a nice little thought, Ganesh. And I would also encourage people, even if you're outside of India, just reach out to Ganesh, because he will definitely have ideas to how you can implement rainwater harvesting or conserving water in your apartments or your residences. So that's another thing. Maybe you can start a wow chapter outside of India as well. So Ganesh, thanks for taking time to join me on the podcast and sharing your story of how you got started with this and how you're taking it forward.
Yeah, thanks, Girish. So I would like to take one Sanskrit verse over here.
Good.
It says, Prithivyam Trini Ratnani, Jalam Annam Subhashitam, Mudhaihi Pashana Khandeshu Ratna Samnya Vidiyate. What that means is there are three gems on this planet. One is Jalam, water, Annam, food, and Subhashitam, good deeds. So what people think is they consider some piece of stone as the real gem. So until and unless we have these kind of people, nothing can be changed. We have to treat water as one of the gem, and we have to conserve it for the future. Only then we can sustain, only then the Bengaluru can sustain.
Well, wonderful. That's a nice little action point for all the listeners to kind of imbibe, because generally from time to time I kind of give them action items that they can take, and glad that you were able to give this action item in a different format by imbibing Sanskrit words. As you rightly said, Sanskrit is a traditional Indian language and it has very good nuggets, and this one is definitely a valuable one that aligns with this episode. So thanks for sharing this.
Thanks, Girish.
That was the end of yet another interesting story on the Mission Shunya podcast. Hope you found some inspiration to take action from this show. A little bit of nugget and action item was right at the end of the conversation, so hope you didn't miss out on that. Water conservation is definitely essential. Water stress is hitting urban centers around the world. This story happened in Bengaluru in India, but it wouldn't be long if it comes closer to home. So start acting on it now. Feel free to share the story to more people who care about water and sustainability. Links to connect with Ganesh are in the show notes section and as always on the website. And as usual, a small request towards the end: if you like the show, do spread the word, follow Mission Shunya and amplify the content if you find it useful. I will be back in 2 weeks' time with yet another interesting conversation. Until then, this is Girish Shivakumar signing off, and as always, thank you for listening.